Hi, I'm Ben Richardson, and you're listening to the Karate Podcast, where we talk about karate, the competitive sport of kumite, and the warrior's journey. Brought to you in association with Kumite Coach, the world's first progressive online high-definition coaching platform, created by coaches and fighters for coaches, fighters, and students of karate. Join kumitecoach.com today and take your karate to the next level. All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Karate Podcast. Bit of a recorded intro here as we got straight into the conversation with Rory. So Rory Daniels, multiple National EKF champion, winning multiple gold medals at the Commonwealth Championships. He's also been a multiple medalist for the EKF team at the WKF World Championships. And in 2004, he became the WKF World Kumite Champion at open weight. Just a fantastic fighter with a great history and some real strong views on karate in the present day. So looking forward to sharing this interview with you. Thanks very much for tuning in. But it's 2004, wasn't it, Rory?
I won a world title in 2004, yes.
Yeah.
Open weight Kumite.
Sorry? Open weight, yeah.
That was, yeah.
Open weight, that's savage.
There's a funny story behind that, though. Behind the open weight. So I used to always fight under 75.
Right.
And what happened was I was having a really... So the Worlds was in October or November. So like the latter part of the year. And I was having I had a horrific first 6 months of 2004. And what happened was I was not performing at all. You know, I was watching the rest of the squad, like Paul Newby, Leon Walters, Davin Pack, Alton Brown. They all performed incredible. They were all performing amazing. And I just couldn't get it together on the international circuit, whether it's Europeans or open events like German Open or Dutch Open. And then what happened was that's when the 10Ks were on back in the day.
Yeah.
And I pulled out the 10K because I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to embarrass myself. And what happened was Joe Long rang me up and said, Raw, I'll give you one last chance. You know, they had someone else pull out, you know, do you want to fight? And I was like, do you know what? I was like, screw it, I'll fight. And it ended, that event was the turning point. I ended up getting to the final against Guranov, the Russian heavyweight.
Yeah.
And I beat some really good guys on the way. And yeah, it was a really, really close fight in the final, actually. And then that was that. So it was like 5-3 or 6-3 or something. And there was a dubious, I mean, Guranov was an incredible fight. He won the Worlds that year as well. And then, yeah, we went to pre-training. And then Tiki Donovan said, yeah, you're going to fight an open weight. We're going to still go with Alton for under 75. And I was like, oh, okay, well, as long as I'm in. And that was that. I fought in the open weight. And yeah, and that the rest is history, so to speak. So that was so he carried on fighting under 75. And which he, you know, he was entitled to. He was fighting brilliant. And we had a few fight-offs, you know, can't really remember the results. I think it was like he won one, I won one. It went a bit like that for a week or so. And then yeah, Tiki selected Alton and then selected me for open weight, and yeah, that was that.
Wow.
So yeah, it was. I don't know, you know, if Tiki would have selected me under 75, would I have won? I'm not too sure. You know, who knows? But you know, it just ended up the way it did, which was fantastic for me. So you know, it must have been destiny or something. I don't know. But that's that. That's the little story, really.
That's amazing. I mean, we need to dig much deeper into that story because there's only a handful of people out there who've managed to achieve something like world champion in the WKF. And we're going to go right back. I need to do an intro after this as well because I haven't done your intro yet. But while we're chatting, where did it begin for you?
As in, like, right back to when I started karate.
Yeah. So how did you find it? And then we're going to take it from there as to how you ended up being a competitor.
Okay. So right back to when I was 12 years old. And believe it or not, it was the Karate Kid.
Was it?
Yeah, the original Karate Kid, the first one, and
Yeah,
it
me
was,
too.
That's a great
yeah,
one.
like literally, and that was, and then so you know, I was 12. I was like, man, that's awesome! What a film! And you know, it was incredible. You know, the music behind the Karate Kid. Oh my god, it got everyone hooked. And then with my friend's dad, in my local town in Cleveland, opened up a karate club, and he's like, why don't you come along? And that was it. I just walked through the doors, and it was back. We were with Higashi back then,
Right.
so it's Cleveland Higashi Karate Club. And yeah, I obviously a late starter actually at 12. I think most people start when they're a bit younger, but yeah, I was a quick learner, I suppose. The club wasn't back then. That was like 92. It wasn't like hugely like kumite orientated. It did, you know, kata, the kions, and the kumite. It did it all, like the basics. And then whenever we basically got into the kumite, I always seemed to do okay.
Yeah.
And then it went on from there, you know, like we were saying, me and Tom were saying earlier about, went into the first comp, got beat bad, went into the second comp, got beat not so bad. You know, the third comp, it was like I got beat, but I scored a couple of points. You know, the next comp, it was like a drew, and then it was like first, and it just started developing from there. And then just got to the point where, you know, you're training at, it was like more raw. There wasn't really anyone that could teach me in Cleveland, because there wasn't kumite, like I said, there wasn't kumite orientated.
Yeah.
And then what happened was I went to a competition, and then the Bristol Karate Club, which is the Bristol Karate Club, which is a club that I joined in '96, and all the way up to about, well, just after COVID, I left. So I was with them a hell of a long time, just over 20 years. So we were Higashi, and one of their head coaches was from Bristol, Alan Fluke and Andy Gunton. And they noticed me at the karate competitions, because Higashi used to have the national champ, the Higashi Nationals.
Right.
And they said, we know you're from Cleveland. If you want to get a better kumite, come to Bristol. Oh my God. So I went to Bristol, and it was like, it was literally, I walked in, I was like, oh my God. They used to have the Bristol Karate Club. It was phenomenal. You'd probably go in there and you'd have you had enough people, five-man teams. So two tatami at each end. Like, the fighting was nothing like I've ever seen. I mean, it wasn't a normal night if someone's nose didn't get smashed in, or there's blood flying from someone's face. You know, we were like, I was probably 15 or 16 when I first went up there. It was brutal. It was really, and you had the old Higashi fighters there as well that were doing really well, the senior fighters, and a lot of juniors actually doing well. So I fought a lot of kids, you know, guys around my age. But it, like you say, it was like the first comp. I went there and started off getting, you know, worked, getting annihilated with the fight offs, and then as you get coached up a bit, you started winning those fights, and then you get older, and you start doing better. And then I got invited to an England squad. Actually, I think it was 96 or 97. Tell you what, it was when Ben Campbell first won. To Ben Campbell, who we're with now, I'm Kaisha with Ben Campbell now. It was when he first won his under-21 bronze medal, because I remember him like getting like clapped in the England squad before we started. Yeah, and then we went up to England squads then, and it was like one a month or once every 2 months or something like that. And I'll tell you another funny little story. So we're going to about 2 or 3 England squads, and it was the first selection. So that would have been, was it Bulgaria 96, the Europeans in 96 or 97? Can't remember. But the first England selections I went to, I had 2 fights. Okay, and it was when the rules were, if you get knocked down and you were unable to fight, your opponent gets disqualified and you win.
Right.
Okay. I had 2 fights. I got knocked down twice. So I was losing the fights, losing the fights like comfortably. I got knocked down twice, like smashed in the face twice. Couldn't get up, couldn't fight on, and they lost. So it meant on my records, I'd won 2 out of 2. And because of that, I got selected for England.
Wow.
And then, and then it's unreal. I went to England, so they did the pre-training then at Crystal Palace. I went to Crystal Palace, got absolutely annihilated in the, because there were some top fighters then, and they earned their spot. I didn't earn my spot. I got knocked out twice. But they earned their spot, and the pre-training was phenomenal. And I just remember thinking, I am in the deep end here. And I've got no answers. And then, but I went away, and then I came back a different fighter. It literally just clicked like that, and I ended up. And then from then on, I won the national championships that year or the year after, and just that was it. Just kept improving and improving and improving. That was it. That was it really. But yeah, it was.
So you had both of those kind of experiences. One way when you went from one club to this new club where they were training differently, and it's obviously quite an awe-inspiring yet probably shocking revelation for you in terms of how a karate could differ. Then you've also gone into the England setup, probably not in the way you'd want to. But to me, it sounds like you've managed to deal with both of those situations in a positive way rather than them holding you back or getting any sort of sense of imposter syndrome or anything like that.
Yeah, well, I think the differences in me, I wanted to win. I was hungry. Yeah. So that was the difference. Every time, I got knocked down, I got back up. And, I carried on. I wanted to win. I had the fight in me. I had the fire. I wanted to win, no matter if I was losing 6-0 and there was 10 seconds to go. I'd still want to win. There was no giving up in me, and I think that's it's obviously incredible for karate as well. I think you need that in any fight game, but just in life in general, just the want to succeed, the want to do well, and that was it really with me. I just always wanted to, whatever I did, I just wanted to be the best at.
Do you think, do you think that's what separates the people that get to that champion status from like the rest, as it were? Do you think that there's that difference in mindset, really? And can you instill that in people, or is it kind of do you have it or not kind of thing?
I don't know if you can teach that. I don't know if you can. I think that's in you. That's in you from that's something your parents give you, or something that's in you forever. Do you want the will to succeed? That fighting instinct, that just sheer grit and determination, when you're in the trenches taking grenades, to just get back up and start fighting again. I'm not sure. I've been in my career. I fought all sorts of people, big guys, and I remember getting smashed in the face and knocked down, and you just get back up and fight. Just get back up. And I was just like, it's got that determination to just think, right, I get back on my line and I'm gonna go back and win this fight, and that's it. And then I don't know if you can coach that or not, but I just think that's in you from a young age, whether you've got it or not. I'm not saying you can't do well without it, but it certainly helps,
And then when do you think is the point where, like, when people retire, if you're still in good nick, say,
like yourself,
when do you think that time comes for a person, and when might you know, or might you just, do you keep the hunger if you still got the hunger there? Or
the hunger stops. So with me, when I retired, the hunger just went, and it was just weird. I remember in Bristol, the sessions were savage. We used to go at each other like hell for leather. Like we used to go at each other like we hadn't won any titles. It was, like we were the underdogs all the time. I remember once just training after winning the English like 24 times or whatever, after fighting for England for years, you know, after winning a world title, after winning Paris, and I was just like, I literally just stopped bouncing, and I was like, I don't want this anymore. I don't need it. You know, I was 30, I was 32, 33 when I retired, something like that, and I was just like, I'm just not feeling this anymore. And but every point up to that, I was just like, I'm on this, I want this, I want to win, I'm hungry. You know, even if I've got all these other titles, I'm going for this, and I'm going for it. I'm going to commit 100%. It's mine. And I've always trained like the underdog all the time. And so had everyone around me in Bristol. But then that one time, I was like, no, I don't need this. And then all my teammates were like, one more year, one more championship. I'm like, no, I'm done, guys. I'm done. That's it. I haven't got it in me anymore. And I didn't want to go out there sort of like at 50% and then end up losing, because you don't want to be like leave that sort of legacy, you know. I'd hate to leave on a loss. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then what happened was I lost my mum when I was 34, and that triggered something in me to just keep going. Do you know what? I was like, my coach was like, you only live once. You can only do it as your body allows you to. And I came back for a year. I had the hunger again, and then I did I do most of the year? I think I did most of the year at competing, and I fought some good guys and beat some good guys. I think I won another English title. I fought in the team and won some good events. This was like, you rock up to a competition like the Central England, and you got all the current England fighters there, and I just took them all out. And I was like, wow, this is crazy, you know. And they're in their prime, they're in their mid-20s, you know. I'm sort of like 34, 5, you know, and you're not getting as much you're not as active as them. And I just had the hunger again. It just, something clicked in me, and then it just died out again, just like that. And then that's it. That's been it since. I've never wanted to compete ever again. So,
did your goals, you obviously had this hunger to win. Was it important what you were winning, or and did you have a long-term vision for where you wanted that winning to take you in terms of competition? Was it from the get-go you wanted to represent England, or were you just concerned with where you were at in that moment and winning that next tournament?
No, I think for me there was always, I mean, for any fighter that competes for their country and is going to major events, if you're in the mix, like at European and Worlds, if you're at the business end, at the end of the day, if you're at the kind of the business end of the category, so if you're top 8 or, say top 10, you've always got to be thinking, man, at the Worlds, anything can happen. And if you're on form on that particular day, that world title's there, you know. No one really dominated in our day. Like Wayne also dominated in his day, you know, how many world titles he won, but no one really dominated hugely in our day. Not individual world titles until you got to like Agaev, which was kind of just after me. So he dominated. So like especially in open weight as well, like, you know, I think in 2002 a Serbian guy won the open weight, and we were like, how did he win? But he just had a fantastic day. He's a good fighter. He had always been in amongst it, and you could always see him having some really good fights and doing really well. But and then it was just like, oh, it was open weight, and he had a fantastic day. And then you look at his fights, and he's like, he took him out, and you watched him, and it's like, oh my God, he had a fantastic day. And sometimes you need a bit of luck, with the draw, and you need a bit of luck with your, at the sort of condition you're in and how you're fighting. So I think, but going back, we had a long-term goal. I didn't want to just represent England. I wanted to win major titles.
Mm-hmm.
And it came quite early in my career, really, at 24. But nevertheless, it happened. But the long-term goal was always to win major titles. That's why we're in it. Like, that's, when we were fighting for England in team events, God, how many finals did we make? in the team, I think we made a world final, and we made 2 European finals, and we never got gold. And we were all, well, I know personally, I was devastated that we could never get that ever elusive team victory at a major event. But yeah, we were but yeah, long-term goals always to win a major title. Yeah, cut a long story short.
At what point did you start to transition from focusing on your fighting into coaching fighters?
I'd say that was I think, like, if even when you're like so when you're in your prime and you're concentrating on yourself and you're fighting, and even when you're at the pre-trainings, and whoever you're with doing a certain set of techniques or a certain drill, you're always helping them. You know what I mean? So you'll be working with someone and you're always helping them, like, just try and move a bit closer, or get that hand a bit more this way or that way, or twist your hips a bit. And I think that's it. That's kind of in you as well, that coaching's in you. So I always knew I wanted to pass my knowledge down, so to speak, to grassroots after I finished. But I always knew that. But I always knew I had to be selfish and concentrate on yourself as well as, when it comes to competing. But I always knew I wanted to be a coach, always. Yeah. So, and then when the time was right, obviously retired from fighting and just naturally kind of transitioned into the coaching.
Great.
So when you take your fighters to a competition and you have quite a group there, how do you kind of prepare them? What's your kind of ritual? And does it change according to the individual, or do you kind of have a general approach and they branch off? Or
what do you mean, a general approach?
What's your approach to preparing them for the competition itself, like on competition day?
I'm not really very superstitious with stuff like that. We just we know we're always prepared as regards training. Okay, so when say we've got a big competition coming up, so we've got the English Championships in July. We'll train hard. Now we're going to train hard up to that, but all our sessions are hard anyway. So even if there was another competition, like we just did the Manchester Unagi Kai Open, we don't need to do anything really, really specific to prepare, because we know we train hard and we try and cover most things anyway. And then what you find is, say you're on the day of the competition, the individual fighters have got their own little rituals or own little things they like to do anyway, which I never really had, was never really superstitious like that. I used to just, turn up, and when someone says it's time to fight, get my warm-up pads on, fight, that was it. So, some people like not to have breakfast, wear some special pants, or, wear your lucky pants or something like that. But yeah, going back to preparing the fighters, we're prepared because all our sessions are hard anyway. So we're prepared, they're fit. If a fighter says they want to commit to an event, commit to a competition, then I speak to them, and I know, and they commit to their fitness as well. So I know they're physically fit outside of karate. Or you don't just do karate, you've got to do all the rest. I know they're going to be fit. I can tell by their bodies that they're fit, and the way they can, do round and round after round. I know they're fit. And then the smart training and the hard training we do prepares them for any competition, really. So yeah, that's that.
Do you practice a lot of like set pieces for kumite, or do you go more into free sparring as the mainstay?
All of it. So we do set pieces like scenario work, then we do certain drills, then we do free fighting, we'll work on defense, we'll work on movement, we'll work on attack. We just, the problem is there's not enough hours in the day to work on all of it. The other countries, England are a bit behind, really, which is very frustrating when it comes to international fighting. But I believe we haven't evolved because other countries have evolved with stuff like, like football teams, yeah, or rugby teams. You'll have a defense coach, you'll have an attacking coach, you'll have a kicking coach. Okay, yeah. You'll have, say, at football, you'll have a goalkeeping coach, you'll have a set piece coach, for like free kicks, stuff like that. Other countries in karate they've got movement coaches, defense coaches, attacking coaches, kicking coaches. We haven't got that. We should have it. And that's another frustration. But going back to like preparation, there is, realistically, you only get, for me personally, I believe that you can only blast out an hour or a bit more with your athlete and get really good quality out of them. If you train for like 2 hours and you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, I believe the standards start to slip and you start training, start bringing bad habits and compensating because you can't do it because you've been training too long and you're tired and stuff like that. So like I said, you've only got an hour, and like, working on attack, defense, movement, kicking. Quite easily you could do an hour on all the different front hands you can do. So yeah, there's not enough hours in the day, is there? Or in the evening when we train, so to speak. It's difficult. It's very difficult. I'd love to win the lottery and pay my athletes full time.
That'd be amazing.
Some fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Do you think is that the main difference then between when because you were part of quite a powerhouse group of individuals with Paul Newby and Jason Legister and Davin Pack and yourself, phenomenal fighters, and there's depth in that group.
Yeah.
And so what's the difference? Is it that the other countries have progressed, like you said, to breaking up these coaching segments in their teams, or is it just money, or what's your feeling around those differences?
Oh wow, we have so many conversations about this with other coaches. My God, I believe other countries haven't stopped evolving. Okay, you look at France, Azerbaijan, Ukraine. Look at all of them, all of the North African countries, Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia. They have not stopped evolving. Okay, and I wouldn't say they've got loads and loads of money, but they haven't stopped evolving. So what's happened is in their governing bodies, they've not stopped improving. Okay, in business or in life, if you just go backwards, you're going to do worse, aren't you? These countries haven't stopped improving. Look at some of the South American countries. My God, they were back in the day. You never heard of them. They were shocking. They were cannon fodder. Now, oh my God, they're winning K1s, Series A's. They're winning world medals. It's fantastic. Yeah. But so I believe it's progression. Other countries have naturally progressed. Okay, the EKF, England karate hasn't. Okay, and I don't believe it's at club level or association level. I believe it's all to do with the governing body. Governing body, back in my day, when I was fighting, we were training so much. We were training in Loughborough University. We were there every month, staying for long weekends. So how many sessions could you put on then? It was crazy. And used to I'm just trying to remember some of the brutal sessions we had. It's quite, it gives me nice nightmare fuel. It is. So we were training, not to mention all the time. Yeah, and then we were doing the domestic circuit, which all the time we were fighting each other as well. So constantly trying to fight each other, improving each other when it comes to competing, training together. So constantly improving each other when it comes to training, but all the time, and competing all the time. So we were getting invited. That, like, back in the day, it wasn't unusual to be away for 3 weekends out of a month fighting somewhere, being invited over there, Turkey, being invited to France, being invited to Spain, Germany. or there's the competitions, like what we had, like the Dutch Opens, the German Opens, the Italian Opens, now the K1s.
Yeah.
Just competing all the time there as well. But back in our day as well, we were funded, so trips were paid for. So it was easier, I'd say, in that sense. I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't all paid for, but you still had to get the results either way. If your petrol was paid for to go to Birmingham or back, you still had to go and to Europeans into the trenches and fight and get in the in the top sort of like 4 or 5 to get the class as a result. But yeah, and back then it was funded by the governing body as well. I just believe, I don't know, the governing body doesn't seem to. I do feel sorry for that. It just can't get his act together, and it's a shame. Everyone talks about this has got to happen. We all know what's got to happen. We all do. We all chat amongst ourselves, don't we, as coaches and friends? But it's got to have the reset button pushed on the governing body, and a huge shake-up happen. But again, if that happened tonight, and you had a new governing body tomorrow, you got to be looking at that's a 10-year plan to get medals, like consistently. So I think it's a bit both what we said there. I think it's a bit of the countries are evolving, and then we're going backwards. But we have, when you look at all the fighters that have recently just done the youth league in Cyprus, a lot of them did 3 or 4 rounds. We had I'm sure we had a Kata medalist from Khalsa, which is Satinder's, the England Coaches Association, Satinder Sahar. Yeah. And we've got like people like Ruby Hunt. We've got she's constantly doing incredible things on the international circuit. And then you look at slightly older people like Lauren Salisbury. She won an Olympic medal under 21s. They're still around, so we've got medal winners. We know they can medal, because each age group, they get older together. Do you know what I mean? You don't put Lauren in with we all get older, so she'll be competing against the same people, the same competitors that she fought. So we know they can medal. We know England can develop champions. I just think at that level, you need a little bit of extra help. Anything you can get, a little bit of extra confidence. If you're wearing a nice tracksuit, that might help, or something like that. But yeah, I just think, I think first and foremost, I think we need to get our act together in England, and then we can start, as in a couple of years, we plan it, and then we can start competing with these guys. But like we said earlier, Tom, like everyone's training together now. Okay, like all these other countries, they're doing fight camps. Look at that, the Scottish female heavyweight. Well, what's her name? Is it Neve Jenner? She's just been, before they competed in the recent K1, they were doing a fight camp for a week before with all different nationalities. Just someone organised it, and they just go. So that's fantastic preparation. Yeah,
and that's why that one a couple of weeks ago that Joby hosted.
Yeah, that session, fantastic.
And we just got it was just a room full of all the people that you would want there. Yeah. Nice hard session, and they were all there at once, and that was just kind of like, this is a bank holiday, let's just do this.
Yeah, it's got to be done. Like, if we want to improve in England, we've all got all the good fighters have got to start improving each other. And that means you've got to train hard. You've got to train hard together, and you've got to get together. If all the other countries can do it, it's pretty simple to drive an hour and a half up to Oxford and do it, isn't it? But it's what you want. Do you want to sacrifice? Do you want to commit? You're either all in or you ain't, for me. Yeah. If you want to succeed at something, you've got to be better. So that means you've got to train hard to make the fighting easy. So what do people want? If you're all in on something, you've got to go all in.
Yeah, 100%. When you were fighting, were you getting your ideas, inspiration learning from the peers in your international group, or did you have particular coaches that really helped you excel and develop your game?
I think, again, I think it was the coaches, and I think the coaches, our coaches were incredible. So my first England coaches, Vic Tiles, so fantastic coach. I was really young when he was the first England coach, and then you had all the people around me my age, which were people like Paul Newby, Davin Pat, Leon Walters, you know, just to name a few. And then you had even like Wayne. This was when I was like 17. Wayne, Willie Thomas, Ian Cole. They were all still fighting, so you didn't have to look far for inspiration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to be honest, it was survival back then as well. So you needed to really fight hard to survive a session, because those guys, you know, they were incredible. So I think it was a bit of both. You had inspirational coaches and people around you were inspirational as well. So yeah, it's a bit of both, really.
Fantastic. And obviously the current kind of setup we have in the EKF, do you feel that there's the opportunity there for the fighters to develop under the current coaching system, or do you feel they need to, like you're saying, have this opportunity to attend fight camps, to work with specific coaches on certain areas of their game? If you could change one thing, what would it be?
One thing.
Yeah, you're allowed to change one
That's
thing.
impossible. You can't change one thing. I personally don't think. I think you just need to. England's got to once a month. Okay, once a month for 2 or 3 hours. You're not going to change the world training once a month, but you're also not going to change the world if you've got your governing body is going the other way to what you want to go. The governing body needs to start funding and taking seriously the kumite side of karate, because that's the shop window. Okay, that's where people look. I mean, unfortunately, traditional karate is fantastic. Yeah, I'm more kumite. I'm more sport. Traditional karate is fantastic. You know, people. But at the moment, it's all about, if you want to succeed, or people looking in from outside, they're going to look at the sport aspect of karate.
Yeah,
they're going to 100% look at that. Okay, karate has just been to the Olympics. That's not traditional guys doing that. You know, you're not doing self-defense, you know, defense against Morshigari or Maigari at the Olympics. Okay, it's kumite, it's sport karate. You know, it's turned into a sport now. We've got to evolve. So the governing body needs to get their act together. They need to start funding athletes. They need to start funding coaches. They need to start working with each other, not hating on each other all the time. I don't think we've got enough time for me to answer that question. And you can't just say one thing. You know, you can't just change one thing. Yeah, I mean, there's so much that needs to be changed for me personally. But we haven't got all night, all week. So, but you know, maybe one day if I ever get president of the governing body, we'll change it. But that's not. I'm not thinking anything like that at the moment, so I won't be going for president anytime soon. But yeah, I think, like I said, I think the talent's there in England. 100%, the talent is here. The good grassroots club association coaches are here. I just think when it gets to a national level and an international level, the governing body, you know, the money that they need to get more money from somewhere, and then set like a proper performance plan up, you know, not just you're training once a month, you know. And I don't think I think the coaches want more, and I think they're getting told no. You know, I might be wrong, but.
And do you think it would take? Is it a bit chicken and egg in the sense that it might be when we get like a whole set of serial medal winners that are winning over and over again, that might start to happen? Will it take that? So it's almost that kind of reaching that level before we get there. Do you think that's what's part of the
success
problem?
breeds success, doesn't it? You know, success breeds success. But at some point, we've got to breed that success. For, you know, we know how to do it. We've done it generational times. At the moment, we are we're going backwards. We need to figure out what the hell we're doing wrong. We need to all work together. We need to all come together, and we need to start. I think it's like, I don't know, but back in the day, I didn't care if someone from another club did well. Okay, I'd be like, wow, that's fantastic. I think like a lot of people are like, they only want their own guys to do well, you know. And I think it's some people, you know, maybe a bit of selfishness creeping in. They only want their own fighters to do well. I'm just like, I can categorically say now, I want the whole of it. Like if there was 30 kids going to a Junior Europeans, I would want every single one of them to get medals, whether they were in my club or in my mate's club, or from up north or from the Midlands or London or whatever. I want all of them to win, you know. So I think a lot has to change before we get there, and I don't think that's a very expansive question that you asked. You know, it's a difficult one. I did my best to answer.
Great.
And I think as well, in terms of development and the way that the sport karate is developing, what are your feelings on the current rule set? Do you think that there are some things that need to change there? Do you think there's a little bit of subjectivity or objectivity that creeps into it? Do you think there could be more or less of that, or do you think the rules are kind of where they are, where they should be at the minute?
The rules, like, they mess around with the rules all the time, don't they? Especially in fighting, kumite. So you've got the century rules now, which is first to score. I don't think it really. I don't really agree with it. Yeah, I don't really agree with the century. You know, if you score first, if you're in a kumite match and you score first, okay, and it ends up say 3-3, I don't think it matters if you score first. You know, I believe in you should fight to the first clear point. You know, other rules. What other rules we got now? We got the wakarete, haven't we? Where they come together and they got to be told wakarete. I kind of like that actually.
Yeah.
Because it stops the refs getting involved so much and stopping starting fight. It's like they have a coming together, which you do in fights, wakarete, which means they've got to break themselves. I kind of like that. I don't. I don't really agree with Senchu. Everything else, I think's okay, to be honest. I think it's running. I think did they bring in the buzzer rule the other day, where the refs have the little buttons? I'm sure they were using them instead of flags. They were using like little buttons, you know, like joysticks. I don't really know about that. I think you should be able to see who scores the point. Otherwise, it becomes a continuous battle like taekwondo. You know, and you know whoever scored, boom, and the points just clock up on the screen. I don't think I agree with that. Not with karate. I think if a point you see a point and stop the fight, award it, get going straight away. You know, that's my belief anyway.
Yeah, fantastic. So as a former WKF World Champion, you've been at the top of the game. Now you're a coach. How have your goals shifted coming out of being a fighter into a coach? And I guess what are your big goals for being a coach?
It's funny you say that. My goals are the same, but you compete through your athlete. Do you know what I mean? You're competing through your athletes against the other athletes and coaches. So my goals are still the same. I still want to win every fight. So everybody I coach, I still want to win. You know, obviously it doesn't go that way all the time. but yeah, that's the same. The goals are still there. I still want all of my senior athletes to win every competition they go to. I still want them to push themselves to do all they can, like go to England squad, get selected for England, fight at majors, and do well, go through rounds and get to the medals. And same for the juniors in my club as well. It breaks my heart to see them lose. You know, it's horrible, isn't it? There's some, you know, when you're coaching kids, someone's got to lose, and it's horrible. If say, for example, if my guys win and your opponent loses, it's horrible for them, isn't it? Because they're kids and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just life, isn't it? Someone, you know, when you come to compete, someone's got to win and someone's got to lose. You know, that's part of it. So yeah, my goals are still the same, but you just have to. I personally think I have to compete now through the athlete in front of me. So yeah.
And do you feel that do you feel that fighters from certain clubs where they have coaches, you know, such as Paul Newby's club, do they have a certain style? Do you recognize different styles based on the coaches, or do the coaches not have such an influence as they would if they were fighting themselves?
I don't know, because every fight is individual for me. Every fight is like, so Paul and Frank, and they're a British sport, aren't they? So, and they had a fighter in the Manchester competition, United guy called Joe Flounders. He's fought England. He's fought for England at under 21, and he scored a lot of kicks. I never remember Paul or Frank scoring any kicks when they used to fight.
Yeah.
You know, Paul Newby, Paul Too Sharp Newby is his nickname. He's the fastest puncher I've ever seen. And to be honest, I've never really seen Frank fight, but I've never really seen him punch or kick, to be honest. But I mean, yeah, I think every fight is individual, and everyone brings their own style. And I think if you're a good coach, you see that. You don't try and stop that. You don't try and adapt to where they fight. You just try and help them with their techniques and that for them to become better. Yeah.
Do you strategize around who your fighters may face based on their categories?
Yeah, you try to. You try to. It's hard sometimes. It's very hard. You try and what you do. I personally look at the big fighters in the category. So it's very hard to tactically plan every fight by every competitor. It becomes if you've got a fighter, for me, if you've got a fighter, at some point their fighting instinct's got to take over. You can't talk to them tactically and talk the win through them before each fight. It's like, you know, if your other opponent, if your tactics are here and your opponent changes theirs, then their fighter's instinct, they've got to try and win. You know, so we only do it with the big fighters, really. So, you know, for example, I mean, we tried to tactically beat Joe Kellaway when we're at the British final of Ben, and that it didn't work out. You know, Joe's a fantastic fighter, but you know, tactically we tried to beat him, but you know, it didn't work out. But some fights it did. You know, some fights it did work out. So we do try and win tactically, but sometimes, well, a lot of the time, I'd say the majority of the time, the fighter, the individual fighter, has to have that fighter's instinct and win the fights himself. A coach can only sit there and tell you, can't you? You know, I mean, yeah. What do we know? What do we know?
We might be able to see a sweep, but you know.
Yeah, that's it.
So Rory, if people want to find out more about your karate and how to train with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Well, all they've got to do, I suppose, is just I'm on Facebook, Rory Daniels. My karate club is as well, which is Rory Daniels Karate, RDK, and the Cleveland Cobras, Cleveland Cobra Kids. So we're on Facebook. Look us up. I'm on Instagram as well, under Rory Daniels or Daniels Rory, one of the two. yeah, so you'll see me at competitions. Come up, have a chat, and we'll get together. We'll try and do something.
Awesome.
I think you're JKS, aren't you, Ben? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, we've got you down by us. You've got Somerset Roo, haven't you?
That's right. Yeah.
So they're about 30 minutes, and so I saw them at the last competition. I spoke to their instructor, and I think Thea, is it Thea?
Thea Priest, yeah.
Yeah. So I went up to them. I was like, Jesus, we got some farmers in there as well as us. So I said to them that maybe we should get together and do a bit of training.
That's fantastic, yeah.
But we haven't been able to do so yet. But we will. But yeah, I think at competitions anywhere like that, just approach people, don't you? And if you're unsure, just ask other people, look you up. Facebook, most people are on Facebook, aren't they? So yeah, just look me up.
I appreciate your time, Rory. It's been really great talking to you and getting to know you. And
no worries.
Yeah, no worries. Great to hear part of your story, and we'll have to get you back later on after a few events have gone on and taken place.
Yeah, there's too much to talk about. There's not enough time to talk about all the things we want to. There's never enough time. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate being invited on. I really do.
Absolute pleasure. Cheers, Tom.
Oh, no worries, boss.
Cheers, guys. I'll see you all soon. Okay.